Good day, homebrewers. I'm Phil Roy, and I'm here today with Andrewnicus90. He goes by Andrew. We're going to talk today about his one of his ongoing projects, Spoils of Empire. So, moving on to the strategy phase. How do I play against Andrewnicus90? Andrew, introduce yourself. Tell us how we
Oh
beat you.
gosh. Yeah, so basically just have to gang up on me. I play a very boat floating meta, despite the fact that I've just developed a very war focused uh expansion. Yeah, I'm very boat floaty and I have a reputation for being very sneaky at the table. I don't know why. I like to do multiple things at once and make lots of deals. And if they happen to help me get a victory point, what's that to anybody else? But
So, what I'm hearing is tell you no for all transactions and take your home system.
yeah, basically. Just keep me out of the game.
just shut you down. Round two.
Yeah.
Alrighty. What introduces you to what brought you into the home world, brew world? Um,
Well,
is
I've
it,
been playing TI since high school. That was about 18 years ago now. But I've been following Space Cats, Peace Turtles for a long time. I thought it'd be cool to do some homebrewing. I started out with the strategy passives idea, right? They mentioned something like that on an episode, and I ran with it, and that kind of snowballed into the Spoils of Empire
uh,
expansion that
speak,
I'm.
yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of spoils of empire, let's move into the action phase. What action card sums up the fun or embodies the fun of spoils of empire?
War preparations. If you got a more aggressive play style, this might be the expansion for you, especially if you like those factions that are more combat oriented. I wanted to throw the Barony and the Sardak Nor a little bone, maybe help them, give them a leg up, so to speak.
Sure, sure. Um, how would you summarize the big high points here for spoils of empire?
Sure. I'd say it's primarily combat oriented in that we have an aggression track which rewards space battle. There's also a colonization thing that's similar to Dane's minor factions. It does a little more with it. Um, but yeah, so we've got passive strategy passive cards for each strategy card. There's like four per. Just gives you a few more choices. There's a ninth strategy card which lets you add more tiles to the map, as well as do some exploring beyond just taking planets and technology. And there's some other additional components that just complement those new mechanics.
And I always love expansions that take the time to add just that little bit of stitchery to speak to kind of pull everything together. I know one of the things that I always struggle with when I'm adding new stuff is okay, so I've got this great new thing. Why does anybody want to mess with it?
Yeah,
And you got to sometimes add those little extra stitches to kind of give people a reason to do stuff.
absolutely. All right, so let's going on to
Yeah,
strategy passives. So yeah, they each give you additional benefits. As soon as you activate your strategy card, you take one of the associated passives, and you get that benefit until you either turn in your strategy card or it gets refreshed. I leave a lot of stuff open ended in my design in case other people want to, tag on their own homebrew. I try to make it very extensible. So, but
nice.
anyway, yeah, and yeah, the strategy card, the expansion. This one's fun. You place a red or blue tile on the edge of the map. You get to explore a frontier and a planet, and then one of the strategy passives that goes with it lets you place a green tile instead of a red or blue tile, and then that feeds into
The vassalization
the
stuff?
yeah, the vassalization stuff. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Sure.
So everybody gets an unused factions system tile equidistant between them and their the player to the left and right, so that everybody's trying to fight over these home systems. Once you take them, so when you place them, you place all that faction starting units except for space docks. So you got to go and conquer all those planets. Then you get to research one of their starting tech. You get one of their command tokens in your fleet pool, and there's other goodies that go with that. There's also a promissory note that goes with that, homage. It replaces support for the throne. It kind of splits up the effect, right? It keeps the original intent where you go and just beat somebody into the ground and take their homage, so that you'll stop.
Please
And
take
then
my lunch money. Don't leave me alone.
exactly. Um, and then the victory point gets rolled into the aggression mechanic.
Sure, we can look at aggression here.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. So this is, um, it just rewards you points for winning space combats and for taking other people's legendary or home system planets or Mechatol Rex. Once there's a few goodies along the track. Once you hit 5 victory points or 5 aggression, you get a victory point. At 7, you can research a unit upgrade technology. Once players hit 9 points on this track, I imagine this would mostly happen either in 14-point games or games with really combat-oriented factions. That maybe can't get some of those more obscure objectives and want to just go the tech route. It
Sure.
becomes a slugfest once you hit 9 VP. So one player gets that point, the player who's been there the longest, and then if they lose a point, they get bumped off, and then the player who's been there the next longest uh,
Right.
gets that
Yeah.
victory point.
Yeah, I would imagine taking like control tokens here, putting them on the track, and whoever gets there first is on the left side of the track, and then everybody else will stack theirs in order to the right. And then whenever somebody gets bumped out of there, all this tokens slide to the left so that when somebody's got the victory point.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can see how that works. I just had a brain thought as I'm sitting here looking at it. You mentioned the things that can lose victory points. I wonder if somewhere along the way you could add a little iconography there to show what are the things that would make you lose a victory point. And you
Ooh,
mentioned home
that's not a
systems like
bad idea.
like a little green hexagon. Um, legendary could be like the legendary symbol. And then Rex would be, I don't know, something for Rex.
There's symbols for it. I could probably dig something up for sure.
Yeah, think about it. But then like a -1 or a something, just something a little reminder. I mean, it's the sort of thing that players are going to remember very quickly how it works, and you won't need the iconography. But for somebody who's trying to understand how it works in the very beginning, it might be useful. It's a thought.
Yeah, definitely. No, I like that. I'll have to do that next time around.
Yep. And I know you mentioned the stuff to kind of tie it all together. Here's some examples. Show us what you got going here.
Sure. So this first one, Iono Shift, that one and Planetary Warp. If you draw that when you're exploring, it moves the Ion Storm or the Mirage token into the system being explored. And then you discard that and draw an additional card from the Frontier deck. So that way, it just kind of mixes things up without cluttering that deck. There's a few agendas that went with it. Prime Directive, it's a directive for during the next action plays. Players may not activate non-player faction systems,
Leave the
but if you
uh,
vote
leave the
against it,
neutrals alone.
exactly, or exploit them and get a trade good for each planet you control in one of your systems.
Right.
Uh, Levy troops, action card. When you produce from one of your space docks, you get a fighter or infantry for each uh, client planet that you control.
Right.
And then
Hey,
finally,
hey, you press the troops, conscripts. Let's bring them. Let's go, go, go.
exactly. Finally, become a warlord. This is one of several objectives. It's got a stage 2 to go with it. Have at least 2 more aggression than 2 of your neighbors, so you're gonna slug that out. Um, yeah, so that's a bit of a sample of what this
Yeah.
expansion contains.
And moving on to the status phase, we kind of touched on it a little bit already. I mean, what fun does this bring to the player experience? What fun are you looking to enhance at the table? Because I'm all about the fun. Fun is the magic sauce. Fun is gold, and watch out for thieves when you're designing because you don't want to
Yeah.
reduce player fun. What
Well, I'm hoping that this makes it a little more spicy, just a little bit. If you're inclined to negotiate on a border system, maybe this will make you less inclined. Maybe you just go and just straight up fight and take it over.
Sure.
And
And
I also like the idea of it's kind of a mini Franken as well, in that you get a lot more of these outside faction components in the game that you would not normally see.
yeah, and one of the things that I've seen in my 6 years, 7, 8 years, I've lost track. 2018, 7 years since I really got involved in the TI community. TI4 came out in 2018, right? I'm remembering this right?
Oh
Sounds right.
gosh.
But is has been a dichotomy between competitive players and casual players, and there was a shift that I noticed with the introduction of POK, where POK the game ends around sooner.
Hmm.
People There's more guac points floating around, so people are actually scoring faster. But yet at the same time, I've heard some of the more competitive players reminiscing about the days pre POK when you were sitting there, and if you had enough brain power, you were able to calculate which action cards were still in the deck, which secret somebody absolutely must have to have because there were fewer secrets,
Hmm.
and just really brain power calculating it down to try and zoom in on that victory. And they feel that the game, while it's opened up, is a little more erratic. I personally am a fan of a game that's like, hi, we're gonna have a sailing race from here to around Cape Horn to the Hawaiian Islands. It's going to be a wild ride all the way there, and lots of unexpected things are going to happen to everybody. And ultimately, it's the player with the best sailing skill and can ride all the little upsets and changes here and there will be the one that gets there first. But
Oh, absolutely.
it's
This
just
is a
a
broad
wild ride the
galaxy.
entire time with everybody's, there's you're dealing with chaos, but everybody's dealing with chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And anything can happen in an open universe.
And
So we
I
should
love
just be prepared for that.
be prepared for that. So I'm excited to take a look at it and see what kind of emergent storytelling this can bring to the player experience. So, a couple more questions for you. I want you to propose an agenda. Looking forward as we move forward and continue to talk to other creators in the community. Think, tell me about a project. Give me one of your favorite agendas and tell me
Hmm.
why it's your favorite agenda. And then I want you to tell me a project or a member of the community that you think has an interesting story to tell or an interesting project to show or something that we should show on the podcast here in the future. What you got for me, my friend?
Oh, let's do Minister of Sciences. Um, and let's first let's talk about. I actually want to ask you about your nobility. I know I play tested that with you once. I know you've
Sure.
got like a fifth technology tree that people can go down. So what's that about?
Oh, yeah. The psychosocial initiatives, SciTech. I couldn't resist adding a little bit of a pun there and the initials for the technology tree. Uh, it's actually I can't take full credit for it. Purple Tech was originally a civilian technology that came out of a homebrew expansion made by Wecker a long time ago. He wanted to add a civilian layer to the game with civilian units, some civilian structures, some civilian ships, and just a civilian layer to the game. I wanted to expand that civilian layer and change it to integrate it on other game systems I was using. But one of the things they included in that was a fifth tech tree, purple tech, and so I kept some of it. Some of it's had to change because I've had to adapt it for my particular mechanics and stuff. Um, but it's related to political manipulation, manipulation of populations, um, and just raw political power. In fact, my supreme tech in there is um, it's a Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones. Wheel of Time reference to Deus de Mar Imperialis, which was in the book was a variation of what they translated as the game of the houses, the great game of the
Yeah.
houses, and so my technology is at the beginning of the scoring phase. Before anybody does anything, you can exhaust this technology, and then you pick one of the objectives that's on the table that you are capable of scoring and have not yet scored. You show that you are capable of scoring it. You control the planets, you have the trade goods, whatever the requirement is to score it, but then you don't score it. You mark it with a command token from your reinforcements, and then that objective is not scoreable for the entire status phase.
Well, that's brutal.
So you can't score it. Nobody else can score it. It's an ultimate objective denial. So if you've got somebody who needs to be win slayed, and they're getting ready to win by doing one of the objectives on the table, if you can do it and have not done it, you can deny them at least for that round, and they're going to have to find another way to do it.
That's pretty
Um,
cool.
it is pretty brutal. It is, but it's also a top tier. One of the other things I did with the tech tree is I added a layer, but I didn't just paste it on top. I actually stretched the tech tree over 5 layers
Hmm.
instead of 4, and then so that I could get better parity between the power levels of techs at any one level, and then I added some techs in the holes. But
Sure, that
yeah,
makes
purple
sense.
tech is all about civilians. It's a little, the psi is a little bit nod is a little bit of a nod to, hi, this was some of the psi tech, uh, the masters of the Mahact with all their psychic powers and stuff.
Oh, there you
So
go.
so that's purple tech. So what else were you saying? And so we'll call that our Minister of Science's
All right.
explanation for under the proposal there.
Wanted
What's
to
it's an
tag in another
expansion to talk about.
player.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do Mr. Anvil's space stations. I've been following those. Printed out a set myself for use, but it looks really cool. Faction specific
cool,
structures that you place in an empty system,
nice,
and yeah, so I want to see. I want to dive more into that. Maybe play test that a few times.
cool, cool. I look forward to finding more about it. I That's one that I haven't had a chance to look at very much at all. So I look forward to it. Thank you for the recommendation, and thanks for stopping by the show. And I look forward to seeing you around the game table, whether it's play test or regular. I'll remember to take your home system and not make any deals with you.
All right, thank you for having me on.
Take care, my friend. Bye bye.
All right.